Hello, here we go. This is 2.3. If you notice on both the 2.3 and the 2.2 worksheets, they continue to a second page, but we're only, well, actually, I apologize, just the previous one, the 2.2, continued to a second page, but we're not doing that right now. We'll address that later, okay? Again, similar to the 2.2, I'm going to go fairly quickly here because I know you've seen this before. I'm going to do a much more detailed instruction in Zoom, and don't hesitate again to pause, rewind, rewatch, anything here as often as you need to. So on this one, on this first problem, you see we have a couple different x terms, but they're both in the numerator. You can do this a couple different ways. What I'm going to do here is I want to get rid of this denominator. See, this whole thing's being divided by 2. The opposite of dividing by 2 is to multiply by 2, but don't distribute that. The whole purpose of multiplying by 2 is just that cancels the denominator. So on the right, that becomes 16. And then we just bring these three things down. But I'm going to do two things at once here. I'm going to combine like terms, you see? What's 9x minus 4x? That's just going to be 5x. And then you got the plus 6 still. Now it's just like something we did in the previous video. Move the 6 over. Do a little divide. Whoops. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm dividing by 5. And then my answer is 2. And of course, you could plug that in here. Watch this. I'll do a little check just in this first one. 9 times 2 would be 18. 4 times 2 would be 8. Now, 18 plus 6 is 24. 24 minus 8 is 16. And 16 divided by 2 would give us this answer of 8. Okay. This second one's actually a little bit easier, right? What you want to do is you want to combine like terms. If you have like terms, meaning like multiple terms with x's in it or the same variable, you want to combine them on the same side, okay? So like this 4x minus 5x, 4x minus 5x would be negative x. Just bring this negative 6 down behind it. Now you want to move that negative 6 over. Remember, there's an invisible negative 1 in front here. I know it just said negative, but it's really negative 1. So we have to get rid of that. So we divide both sides by negative 1. And we get x equals negative 14. Okay? Now this next one looks ugly. That fraction freaks a lot of people out. Don't let it bother you. Okay? So negative 2/3, we have to distribute. Negative 2/3 times 6x and negative 2/3 times that. But you multiply by the top. So 2 times 6x would be 12x. And then take that result and divide it by 3. So you get 4x. But remember, it's negative. Okay? Now here, remember, a negative times a negative is going to be positive. Multiply by the top. 2 times 15 is 30. And 30 divided by 3 would be 10. The fraction's actually gone. It's pretty cool. Now combine like terms like we did in the previous one. Negative 4x and positive 3x would be negative x. You know what? In the same time, let's go ahead and move this 10 over. So we get negative x equals 0. Sometimes that bothers people, but 0 is okay. Of course, 0 divided by anything is just 0. Now this one here, I would recommend that you stop and try to do it yourself. This is just like the one that we did in the previous video, the 2.2 video. You got fractions. Here you have 3 different denominators, 2, 3, and 4. So you ask yourself, what number does 2, 3, and 4 divide into evenly? That means with no remainder. And that would be 12. So you multiply each term here by 12. Now watch this here. Remember, you multiply by the top and then take the result and divide by the bottom. Or you can divide by the bottom first and then multiply by the top, doesn't matter. 12 times 1 is 12, 12 over 2 is 6, so that's 6D. 12 times 2 is 24, 24 divided by 3 is 8. Don't forget there's a D there. Now this is where people usually mess this up. There's a number here. Remember, this is really 4 over an invisible 1. So this is really in the top. So that means we multiply. 4 times 12 is 48. Of course, if you divide by 1, you still get 48. 12 times 3 is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. Combine, these are like terms. They both have D in it. 6D minus 8D is negative 2D. I'm going to move this 48 over. Let me make this a little bit neater. So I combine these. I got negative 2D. 9 minus 48 is negative 39. Don't hesitate to use a calculator to help you with that. Now remember here, we're going to get a fractional answer because 39 divided by 2 does not divide evenly. The negatives cancel. A lot of people like to change this to a decimal. I'm okay with you just leaving it as an improper fraction. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with an improper fraction. Okay, whoever coined that phrase, again, did us a disservice because improper fractions are often really easy to work with. So try to do 5 yourself if you haven't tried to do any yourself. This is not that bad. It's very similar to number 2. So go ahead and give that a shot. Now, I'm hoping that you paused it and tried it. Combine like terms, negative 3x plus 6x is 3x. I'm going to move this 7 over. Now, you got to be careful here. Negative 8 and negative 7 is negative 15. Do my division to get x by itself, and I get negative 5. Okay. We are cranking right along here. Now, this one sometimes bothers people a little bit. You don't see equations written like this too much. You see how the 7's behind the parentheses? It's still distribution, okay? It's just written a little bit weirdly. So I'm just going to bring this 4 down. I'll distribute the 7. 7 times 3x, 21x. 7 times negative 3. Now, this looks similar to the one just above it, except our like terms are not the x terms. Our like terms are these plain numbers, the 4 and the negative 21. So the 21x doesn't change. But 4 minus 21 would be negative 17. And now we got to move that over. So I get 21x equals 49. And I divide, I'm going to get a fraction. Again, don't go to your calculator here. This, just reduce the fraction to simplest terms. You can divide these, the numerator and the denominator, both by 7. 7 goes into 49 7 times. 7 goes into 21 3 times. And there's your answer. Okay. Number 7 looks similar to number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and start the first step. Like we did number 1. Okay. So I'm going to clear out this denominator. So I multiply both sides by 2. I don't distribute because that just cancels. Now I bring down the 6x, but I have to distribute this negative 2. So negative 2 times 4x is negative 8x. Negative 2 times positive 9 is negative 18. Remember, the right side becomes negative 2. Combine these like terms. Let's move this over. So I get negative 2 and 18 is 16. Do my division, and I get a final answer of negative 8. I know I'm going kind of fast, but remember, this is detailed in Zoom, and you can re-watch this as often as you need to. So number 8, similar to the problem that we just did above, let's clear out the denominator, okay? So this 5 cancels that. Remember, this negative sign's still there, so negative 3x And it turns out this 5 cancels that as well. So negative 3x equals 7. Divide by negative 3. And that doesn't reduce at all. So you get negative 7/3. And you're all set. That's it. Rewatch. And, hopefully it makes sense. And a much more detailed lesson in Zoom. Okay?